Okay guys, welcome to your starch test practical. We are going to be talking through the steps of how you would test a leaf to show the products of photosynthesis, which would be starch, okay? Now we're going to look at this in the context of a variegated leaf, which is this leaf here. Now your variegated leaf has white bits and green bits. Now in the white bit, it's white because there are no chloroplasts that contain chlorophyll. So what you would expect to see in a leaf like this, obviously this is from a spider plant, so it's slightly different, but you might have other leaves with larger variegated areas. But here, you would not expect to see any photosynthesis happening in these white areas, and therefore no starch produced in those white areas because there are no chloroplasts there. If there are no chloroplasts there, there's no chlorophyll there, which means that photosynthesis cannot take place. Okay, and essentially that is what you are going to try and see. So normally when I do this practical, I get my students to draw out their leaf, draw out the areas that are green versus the areas that are white, and write a prediction of where they think that photosynthesis is going to occur and where starch will be present, okay? And then we start the practical. So for this practical, you are going to need, obviously, a variegated leaf, some boiling water straight from the kettle, and I have a kettle next to me to top that up, a boiling tube, some iodine and a pipette, some forceps, and a stirring rod, and some ethanol, which I have to the side of me. Now, the reason I have it to the side of me is because I don't really want it next to the kettle because it is flammable. I know there's not an open flame, but even the heat can be just a risk. So I'm going to leave it to the side just to start with, okay? So what we're going to do first is we are going to take our boiling water here, and I am going to submerge my leaf in it, okay? So I'm going to put my leaf in here for 2 minutes. Now the reason that I'm going to do that is I am going to heat up my leaf and cells within my leaf to make the cell walls a little bit more permeable and the cell membrane a bit more permeable so that the pigment inside my leaf can come out, so the chlorophyll can come out of here. Okay, it also stops any processes from happening, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Now, the reason that I want to make my cell membrane more permeable is because I want to get the chlorophyll that's inside the leaf, the green bit, I want it out of the leaf so that I can actually see a colour change from my iodine, okay? Because iodine is going to turn blue-black in the presence of starch, okay? So that is what we are going to do. So I just have another minute left on this before I take it out, okay? Okay, so we are going to take out our leaf now, and what we're going to do, we're going to pop it into my boiling tube. I'm going to pop it down, okay? Now I'm going to pour out my boiling water, okay? Now I am going to cover my plant here in ethanol. Now the reason I'm going to cover it in ethanol is because ethanol, I'm going to then boil it, is going to extract the chlorophyll pigment. So, just going to pop this here. This might take a while to do, but I'll show you essentially what happens. Okay, so you can see here that I'm starting to get bubbles here because my ethanol is boiling. So I've just refilled and reboiled the kettle so that this can boil quite significantly. Because what I want to happen is I would like, in the boiling ethanol, all of the pigment that's inside my plant to leach out. And essentially what's going to happen eventually is that this ethanol is going to turn green, okay? And that is what is going to happen. you can see now, there's lots of chlorophyll here, but I'm going to top up my water. This is going for another couple more minutes. Okay. Actually, most of this, you can have a look to see that most of this leaf has now lost its green colour. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the ethanol. I'll tip that into my waste ethanol that I've got over here. And I am going to rinse my leaf in some cold water. Okay, just popping it in some cold water to rinse the ethanol off. Let me get rid of this. So my leaf, so I've rinsed it off, now look like this. You can see that the green bit in the middle, okay, has decreased dramatically. So what I'm going to do now, I am now going to test this leaf for starch. Now, the reason that I boiled it in ethanol was to remove the chlorophyll. Okay, so I've got out as much of the green colour here because I need to add iodine, which is an orangey brown colour, onto this leaf. So I'm going to flood this with iodine. So flood means to just literally pour over. Okay, you can see some bruising already on the leaf before I even put the iodine on. I'm going to leave it for a couple of minutes to see what colour it turns. Okay, because iodine should turn blue-black in the presence of starch, and that's what I should see on my leaf. Okay, so what you can see here is you've got a line of black here, okay, quite close to the white line, but not inside where the white line is. You can see all the way around there is no photosynthesis around the outside because there's no black, okay, but you can see some, it's a black line here, which is where your iodine has started to turn it blue-black. Now, if we left it for longer, then we will see, okay, more photosynthesis there, okay? So that is how I would test a leaf to show the products of photosynthesis, because I'm going to ignore the black at the bottom there because I think that's just where the leaf was starting to break off. This is how you would test a leaf for the presence of photosynthesis happening, because a starch is one of the end products of photosynthesis after glucose, okay? So you have done this practical. This comes up as an exam question on normally a method, so you need to know this method. You need to be able to regurgitate those steps. It's often a 3 or a 4 mark question in your exams, okay? Your prep for this week is one of those questions, so please give it a go. You can use this video to help you, and hopefully this will help. Thank you.